Vanessa Khan is the CEO of RYM Media, a digital television network that can be found on the Roku channel. After spending years working as an award-winning journalist in various cities around the United States, Vanessa found that she was not getting the opportunities that she wanted, even though she was qualified for them. After being told over and over again that she didn't have the Latina look that networks wanted, she decided to stop asking for a seat at the table and build her own table. Now Vanessa is building an inclusive and diverse brand that includes content in different languages, engaging and unique perspectives, and speaking with people from all around the world. Currently, RYM is working with its team to bring fresh and engaging scripted television, with hopes of turning the RYM network into the next big streaming platform. Vanessa's fierce determination is leading the way. Please welcome Vanessa Khan to the hot seat. So, Vanessa, you are an award-winning journalist and producer stationed in Los Angeles. Can you tell me a little bit about your work as a journalist, a producer, and about your accolades?
I have a very interesting story when it comes to my career. I started when I was 20 years old. I was working for AmmoLand Shooting Sports News, which is a pro-gun, pro-hunting website. And I worked in their pop culture and animal conservation beats. It was my very first job. I loved it. I got to talk to some amazing people. I talked to some did some incredible stories. I remember I did one interview where we were both crying at the end. So I'm an emotional person already, but like that one just like, oh, it stuck to me. So that was like my first job slash internship. After that, I got started in a newspaper and I ended up moving from Georgia to Tennessee. And I was in the smallest town you can think of. It was a very small town. I love the town. South Pittsburgh is an amazing town. While I was there, I worked for a newspaper that only published once a week. That should tell you how small of a town I'm talking. Then I loved it. It was a really, really fun time. I even got invited to do coverage of the Keith Urban concert, and I saw Nicole Kidman drinking, and it was cool. She was awesome. And then we got to see Styx as well. That one was fun. Most of what I did there was investigative and hard news. Oftentimes, I ended up in situations where I almost got myself killed.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, it was very common. There was actually one incident where I probably should have died, and when I came back to the station, my publisher told me, he's like, your shot looked great, but if you would have fallen, workers' comp wouldn't have covered you.
Oh my gosh.
I was in a very, very high location.
Yeah.
So that happened. And then from there, I went to Detroit. So I was living in Detroit for a little bit before I ended up getting a job in New York. And then I started working as a freelance journalist in the New York, New Jersey area, doing everything from hard news, protests, building explosions, that kind of thing, to drug crimes, organized crime. Then I ended up doing a lot of the protests. I actually got hurt at one of these protests.
Gosh.
Which was the first of many. And then I even got to do some like really fun like pop culture and sports, and I got to cover WWE of all things. I remember it was the night after WWE SummerSlam, and I was in Brooklyn. We were there for Monday Night Raw, and I didn't even realize until the day after I had a ridiculously long conversation with Anthony Bourdain, and I didn't know who he was.
Really?
I had no idea who he was. We were just talking about traveling and food and whatever. I had no clue. It wasn't until I saw a photo of him on Twitter the next day.
Oh
And I was
my
like,
gosh.
wait, that's who I was talking to? And that was really fun. We got to do play-by-play coverage. After I left there, I ended up in Illinois, Southern Illinois. I was working for an ESPN radio station affiliate. I was the news director there. After about 3 weeks, I first got hired on to be a part-time reporter. And I don't know if maybe it was just my experience from having to, work in the kind of work in New York. But when I ended up there, they were, I guess, just kind of like stunned by my work. And I'm not saying that to sound like a dick to be cocky or anything, but they were just like, whoa. And a good 3 weeks later, they were offering me the news director job.
Wow, that's
So,
amazing.
yeah, and I loved it there, and it was so fun. I ended up leaving because I got my very first job in television. And
Mm.
that was always kind of like the goal of mine is I always wanted to work in television before I was 25. Funny enough, I started working in television on my 25th birthday. I was
Wow.
hired before, so technically I reached I was there for a little while. Then, things just unfortunately didn't work out. Then I ended up moving to California. I ended up at Univision Costa Central, which is the Central Coast station for Univision. And I was there. I worked as a creative services producer and a breaking news reporter. It was nice. I will say, it wasn't bad. I learned a
Mhm.
lot about what it takes to run a station. I learned a lot about the background of television,
Yeah.
of the not just the news reporting side. Since I was a creative services producer, I was more on the side with sales and doing creative commercials, promotions for the station, that kind of thing. So that was
Okay.
more what I was doing. But I always had that itch because like I love being a reporter. I do. It's definitely my favorite thing in the world. I will say that. And it ended up where while I was at that station, they straight up told me that I don't have the look to be on
Wow.
TV.
That sounds very Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I was irritated because it's like everywhere I go, I am a top performer at what I
Right.
do. And I'm not trying to sound like I'm like better than everybody or anything like that. It's like, put me on your team. Why are you leaving me at a desk? Then it was just because I didn't have the traditional Latina look
Mm.
of the whole, the perfect body, the perfect hair, the perfect everything. I didn't have that.
Right.
And my boss made it very clear.
Wow.
Yeah. So I ended up spending my time most of the time doing commercials. And then every once in a while, I would do like a web story, and that was it. But one thing I did definitely enjoy about that job was I actually had a lot of creative control working with talent. It gave me the opportunity to work with talents that typically don't end up on television because they
Right.
don't have the quote unquote the look. For me, it was more of because I would get into arguments a lot with clients. I would about because they would want to bring in, the perfect, voluptuous looking Latina that most people think of when they think of Latin women. And I would always tell them, look, I don't think you realize if you look at your demographics, if you look at the people who are watching, it's not what you think. And I
Right.
would have to always argue the fact that you should bring in somebody who looks like your audience.
Right.
And I actually did get to do that. A couple of places were really welcoming about it and they thought it was great. Others not so much, but I fought it.
Yeah.
That was nice to be able to do, especially whenever some of the clients that I work with would oftentimes make my girls feel uncomfortable. I
Mhm.
was the one running the show. So because of that, I would always, protect my girls. And I would protect the guys too, but they didn't need it.
Right.
But the girls definitely did. I remember having situations with them where they would call me or text me and be like, Vanessa, this dude's really creeping me out. Can you like please come over here? And it was oftentimes the client. It's unfortunate. It shouldn't have to be that way. Unfortunately, in Latin media, it's very common for
Mhm.
that kind of situation where they bring a girl because, she's absolutely stunning, but they try to do things with these
Right.
girls that shouldn't be done. So
Mhm.
usually I'm the one there who's like, you need to back up. And I understand you're my client. I also understand you're not going to make my girl uncomfortable. So I
Yeah.
do not care about this account as much as my sales associate does. So if
Right.
you have a problem, you can talk to the sales associate, not me.
It's good that someone is looking out for those people.
Yeah. Then after that, or while I was there, I really wanted to do the reporting still. And it was driving me crazy that I couldn't because, I don't look perfect or whatever.
Yeah, that's
So
ridiculous.
I started up a YouTube channel. That's what
Yeah.
I did. I started up a YouTube channel, and on the weekends I would go to baile jaripeos, which are like Spanish rodeos. I would go to nightclubs. I would go to concert halls. Anywhere I could possibly go to be able to do any kind of interviews specified in regional Mexican music. The reason why I chose that beat originally was because in the time and in the area that I was in, it was just something that was always going on. So it gave me, I guess, a good opening to be able to introduce myself into that. And not only that, but growing up, I grew up in a very musical family. Everyone in my family is a musician, all of us. And it was just something I already knew a lot about, so I was very knowledgeable in it. So for me to go into that, it just kind of seemed like a very natural step. It ended up working out for me, where when COVID hit and I lost my job at Univision, I turned the YouTube channel into an entertainment blog. Then I turned did that, started doing an actual show whenever we got picked up by a local station, a local digital station here in LA. And then after that, I decided to turn it into an actual network. That was January of last year. We had 3 shows at the time when we first started. It was the original, which was Reventón y Más, and then the Sporty Sibling podcast, which is our #1 show right now. And then we had another show called Con Razón, which did really, really well. But due to issues with talent, we no longer run that show.
Okay.
So that's just, that's how it was. And then as far as my awards, I mean, I don't know. They're cool. I like the work more, I guess.
That's a fascinating story. Interesting how you got there, especially being so young. Now, you're the CEO and founder of RYM Media, which is
Mhm.
a digital television network. What
Mhm.
made you think to start your own television network, and where can viewers find the network? I know you kind of touched on that. They wouldn't give you a seat at the table, so you created your own.
Pretty much. That's really what it was. But to be honest, the idea to create the network was something that I had kind of been playing with when I was with Sabor Latino TV. And I saw how they were running the network, how he was running his network. And I'm like, if this freaking Bocho can do it, I can do it. And I started thinking about it. And then, I don't know, one night I was outside the Malecon nightclub, which I think is in Fullerton, California. And I was out there with a friend of mine who we call Andariego. I was telling him, I was like, hey, I don't know what's going to happen here with Sabor Latino, but regardless, wherever I am, give me this time next year. We're going to be on Roku.
Oh my
And
God.
he was like, Vanessa, you're insane. And the funny thing, the hilarious story was the weekend we premiered on Roku, I called him and I was like, hey, guess what? He's like, what? You have a Roku at home, right? It's like, yeah. I was like, you should look us up. He's like, what? You did it? I was like, yeah.
Oh my God.
Dang, Vanessa, you are crazy. I'm like, yeah, well, but it was
Determined, not crazy, determined.
yeah, very determined with some crazy. I'll admit I'm a little crazy. Not everyone thinks to do this kind of thing. It was just something where I would see it so much, especially in Latin media,
Yeah,
where the men were always kind of the ones running things.
yeah.
And the women who were running things either were so high up the table, I never got to talk to them,
Wow.
or the ones that would, try to fight things oftentimes would eventually just kind of fold over to the men.
Mhm.
And it was just something that I just was so annoyed with. And I'm like, why does this keep happening? But then as the first year where we were working on things through Roku, I started to notice some things. And it was something where, because we were very Latin based when we first started. And I guess for me, after a while, I was like, why are we only focusing on the Latino? Why can't we tell everybody's story? Why does it have to just be us? Why can't we tell, I don't know, stories from like Germany, or why can't we tell stories from like from East Asia, South Asia? Why does it always have to just be Latino? Obviously, oh look, it's very important for Latinos to have a voice, but I 100% believe that it's very important for everybody to have a voice.
Yeah,
Why should it just be one over the other? Everybody
right.
deserves a seat at the table. And that's something that I have strived to do in the network, especially this year. Our biggest focus was really about creating an inclusive, diverse network where people can see themselves on our channel. And the talent that I've had come in, I've had people of all shapes, all sizes, all colors, all hair colors. I'm not even kidding. I've had girls come in with some of the craziest hair colors ever, and I'm just like, girl, do you? And it reminds me a lot when I got my first television job and the amount of rules that we had.
Mhm.
like about certain hair colors, certain nail colors, certain clothing
Yeah.
style. It was, and with me, I was like, I don't care what you do, as long as I don't get fined by the FCC, I do not care.
That's awesome. Now, what kind of content is RYM producing? Are we talking scripted television, reality shows, entertainment television? And why are you choosing to produce this type of content?
A lot of the content that we have is very different, but also one and the same. For example, the Sporty Sibling podcast is a sports analyst show that is done by a brother sister duo. And they actually focus on whatever sport they're covering that week. But their conversations get very intense. However, they also get very entertaining with their little trash panda character who likes to play pranks on one of the hosts, which is hilarious to watch. And then we have some of our other shows, which is like Estilo Ranchero, which is a Spanish show, totally different from the
Mhm.
Sporty show. And that one we look at rising music talent within the regional Mexican industry. We keep that base with us at least on one show because that's how we started. So
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense for us to get rid of it. And then on that show, we actually also have a set that we built inside of our studios. And whenever if you ever come to LA, you can come and check it out. And we'll have artists come in, they'll do interviews on set. Sometimes we'll sometimes go to them, or it'll end up happening where they'll even like perform on the show. So then we have like showcases during that program. So
Yeah.
that's another one. And then we have RYM News, which is our news show, but it's done in shorts rather than the traditional news show that is 30 minutes to an hour long. Let's be real here. People aren't watching 30 minutes of news anymore. They're not. Okay. They want to just look at it, click on a link, do it, 5 minutes. Okay, good, I'm done.
Yeah.
So that's what we do on RYM News, and we'll do singular news packages, and every episode it's its own package. Then we have some other shows that are getting ready to premiere very soon. One of them is Artist Rising. That one is an in-depth look at an artist on the rise, regardless of age, regardless of experience. Our very first episode is actually going to feature an artist named Angel. He is known as the Mambo Cat. And this guy, he's been on tour with everybody from like Madonna. He performed on stage with like Paula Abdul, but then he took some time away, ended up overseas for about 10 years. And now that he's back, he's trying to reinstate himself as an artist in today's world.
Wow.
So that's, our first one. Then we have another one coming in. This one, I'm actually really excited about this one as well. His name is Dylan Garcia. He is a rapper artist based out of here locally, but his story is really, really interesting. He really had some crazy mental health battles that definitely warped into who he is today.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for people to take a look at that. Then, besides that, we have Conocer la Nación, which is our political correspondence show. That one focuses on anything, everything politics. However, it's a special in that it only comes in during the main cycle of the elections. And then another special that we have is called Era 24. That one is where we will follow a person of influence around for 24 hours and get a look in their lives. The last show that we're working on, and as far as like our unscripted stuff, is called Needs No Introduction. I am coming back to the hosting chair,
Yay.
which I haven't done in quite some time. And on that one, we're really going to be looking to tell the stories of people who are truly extraordinary and really need no introduction. So that's what we're going to be doing on that one. And it could be anything. It doesn't have to be music. It doesn't have to be television, film. It could be sports. It could be fashion. It could be business. It could be literally anything. And I think that's why I'm so excited about it. We have done some, individual specials here and there. The last one that we did was a conversation with an icon featuring Ali Zafar.
Mhm.
Ali Zafar, a lot of people tend to consider him as like the Tom Cruise of Pakistan. So whenever he came and we got to talk to him, that was so much fun. I
Mhm.
kid you not, I was actually very nervous. And I don't get nervous often. I really don't. I
Yeah.
guess just because I'm around a lot of celebrities just with my job. With this dude, I was just like, okay,
Oh my gosh.
it. It's fine. I'm like, okay, what are we focusing? I was so
Right.
nervous. That's really everything. And if anyone who is interested and they want to come and check us out, they can either come check us out at our studios, which is over on 6th and Alameda here in downtown Los Angeles. Or if they want to check out our website, they can go to reventonimas.com. If they want to watch our shows on Roku, all you have to do is just get a Roku remote. And once you have it connected to your television, just look up RYM and there we are. And you just click on us and all of our shows and everything, kind of like on Netflix, same thing. So,
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
yeah,
That kind of
so
goes into my next question, which was how can people who are interested in working with RYM get in contact with you? And do you guys accept pitches for shows or new content?
oh yeah, I accept pitches all the time, all the time. The way I look at it is, even though we're still a new network, I like to call it bougie on a budget. In that we're willing to do anything and work with whatever, and we're very open, especially scripted content. I have a producer who works with me currently. His name is Kyron. We call him Clem. And he's actually working on a thriller series for us.
Wow.
So he's given me some details on it before, and I believe we already reviewed part of his pitch deck. And I'm not into scary stuff just because I lived it. So I'm kind of over scary stuff. I don't want to watch it, but I know people will want to watch it, which
Yeah.
is great. We have also gotten a couple other pitches for shows before, working with certain comedians, actually doing like a comedian showcase type of a
Oh,
show,
cool.
which we're working on. But yeah, I mean, if anyone's ever interested, if they just go to our website, there's a couple contact forms in there if you just want to contact us, or if you want to reach out to me directly. Honestly, best place is probably gonna be my Instagram. And that's gonna be under Vanessa Khan underscore RYM. Shoot me a DM and we can go ahead and talk.
That's awesome. What direction do you see RYM going in? Where do you see the network in 5, 10, or 15 years down the line?
I want a building like Netflix.
Yes.
That's what I want. Honestly, yeah. Like, I want to be able to grow this network into becoming such a big platform for people of all shapes, sizes, and colors to be able to tell their stories, whether it's reality, whether it's, informative, entertainment, however you wish to tell your story. I would love to be me and my team would really love to be the ones to help you get there.
With your determination, you guys definitely will get there.
I hope so.
Is there anything else that you would like to share about anything at all?
Anyone who is crazy enough to do some of the stuff I've done, just do it. Like, who cares, Oftentimes I hear people say, what if like what will people think? Or like, what if I don't do it? What if I fail? So what if you fail? I fail every other day of my life. I am constantly a failure. But you know what? I clean myself up, I brush my hair out, and I just get up and do it again.
Exactly.
And more than anything, I guess what I would say is don't be frustrated when you keep getting the door closed.
Mhm.
Cause I get the door closed on me at least once a week.
Yeah.
And I'm still here. So
Yep.
yeah, just keep fighting.
Oh my gosh, I love that. You are very inspirational. I want to thank you again for being here today. I thought that was an excellent interview. I think you are awesome. Your network is amazing, and I can't wait to see more.